Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Cosplay Cosmetology. I'm sorry this took so long. I bought microphones to use for this series and they made me sound like I was underwater and I had to scrap 2 episodes. But we're back, baby, that's what matters. Last time we talked about how to create a smooth base. Today we're going to talk about how to add dimension to it. Today we're going to be discussing contour placement, highlight placement, blush placement, and really anything we can do to change our face shapes. We're also going to talk about how to identify our face shape. So let's do that first. If you already know what your face shape is, great. And if you don't, follow along with these steps. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is grab a scrunchie and or a headband, depending on how long your hair is. And you're going to start by pulling all of your hair back. I'm going to do both the scrunchie and the headband just because I do have some shorter pieces that really want to hang out right here. Also, if you like my Jujutsu Kaisen headband, it's from Otaku Scrunchies. You should go get one. They're a very great small business. I'll include their information right here. Once all of your hair is back, if you wear glasses, take them off. Your glasses will actually drastically change your face shape. Next, you're going to step into a well-lit environment and take a picture of your face straight on. No cutesy 3/4 angle, straight on. Now you're going to take a really good look at the proportions of your forehead, your cheekbones, and your jawline, really focusing on the length and the width. I have a little guide right here, so I'm just gonna read it real quick. If the length of your face is greater than the width of your cheekbones, and your forehead is wider than your jawline, you have an oval face shape. If your face length and cheekbone width are longer than your jawline and forehead, you have a round face shape. If all of your measurements are similar, you have a square face shape. If your face length is your longest measurement, and your forehead, cheekbones, and jawline have a similar width, you have a rectangle face shape. If your forehead is your widest feature, and your chin is your narrowest feature, you have a heart/triangle face shape. Some people say that the main difference between a heart and a triangle is that a heart will have a widow's peak. Personally, I see them used interchangeably all the time. Now, if your cheekbones are wide and your forehead and chin are narrow, you have a diamond face shape. Now, my face length is longer than my cheekbone width, and my forehead is larger than my jawline, which makes my face shape an oval. So I'm gonna take this off. Ooh. And if you're struggling to find your face shape, don't worry about it. A lot of people share characteristics of more than one shape. Now, you've seen the crude little drawings. What do they look like on real people? If you've been to a few of my panels, you may have already seen this. I have 4 models to show you. These are all cosplayers that I know. And I asked them each to submit 3 cosplays that are very different from one another side by side, so we can look at the differences that hair and makeup makes when it comes to altering your face shape. Also, I'm like about to just word vomit because my friends are so beautiful, and this is something that I get very excited talking about. So first, let's discuss the oval face shape. In cosmetology, the oval is considered perfectly balanced, which means you can really do anything with an oval face shape. All these different styles suit the oval face shape, and they also create such different shapes within the oval. This picture in the middle with the short hair actually creates almost the illusion of a heart face because all the weight from the hair is on the top, and then with the narrowness at the chin, it just creates that heart illusion. Whereas when we look at the Vaggie cosplay, half of her face is covered, which creates a little bit more length and also a bit of a slimming effect, but it still stays true to the oval. And then with Gwen, which is a little bit more realistic looking compared to the other 2 hairstyles, it just really sits beautifully around the face. It doesn't do much to alter the face shape, but it does flatter it. Moving on to the round face shape. First, we have Chilchuck, who is a round face character. Chilchuck's round face shape is accentuated by his ears, which bring a lot of attention to the middle of the face, but also his haircut's not very tall, and it stays very close to the face, which just accentuates the round shape. Then we have Jesse Pinkman. This is actually a really cool example. Instead of using a wig to alter the face shape, we're looking at a beanie and a respirator. The beanie being worn as low as it is obscures most of the face shape. You can't tell how wide it is, you can't tell how narrow it is. It just obscures it entirely. However, the respirator adds attention to the top of it, which lengthens the face shape. And then Jesse Pinkman has facial hair. And facial hair is actually, technically speaking, a form of contouring. So it squares out the jawline. It's just such a cool example. The range in this is incredible. And now this last character, who I'm going to admit I don't know this character. I'm not familiar with this franchise. I apologize. However, coming at it from the lens of a cosmetologist, if somebody with a round face came in and wanted the illusion of an oval face shape, this is the haircut that I would give them. The reason being is because the bangs are going to take a lot of the width away from the forehead. It's going to narrow it down. But then there's this face frame that sits right at the jawline, which is going to take away some of that width from the jawline as well. And what is that going to create? A perfect oval. And next we have the heart face shape. Actually, when I met Jade, I was like, please, can I use you in my presentation? I have never seen such a perfect heart-shaped face in my entire life. And she was like, yeah, go for it. Thank you, Jade. Thank you, Jade. So these are actually quite interesting because these are also prime examples of what I would do in a salon setting. So this cosplay in the middle, Robin from One Piece, I believe. I'm also not very familiar with One Piece, please forgive me. Because the widest point of the heart face shape is the forehead, when you add bangs, it becomes an oval. It evens out the entire shape. And then Daisuke is also still somehow an oval, but in a very different way from the other 2. Now, this is a very similar haircut to mine, so I'm gonna use mine as an example. You see how my hair, despite the fact that I don't have bangs, I do have these pieces that come down and frame the forehead, and then it all comes to a line here. I think that's what's happening here. It's not that there's bangs, but there are pieces that cover the widest point of the forehead, so therefore it all evens out. And now for the square face shape. There's a lot of range in here because you have 3 very different haircuts. This one in the middle here with the bob makes her square face shape look round. Because all the measurements on a square face shape are more or less the same, adding the bangs is going to shorten the forehead. Then the way that the bob sits rounds out the jawline, turning the square to round. Now with this cosplay with the long hair, it still stays sort of true to the square shape, but it creates almost more of a rectangle. The hair is so long and it cascades around her face and it creates length, but her jawline and her forehead shape remain intact. So now after looking at the crude drawings, some models, and determining your own face shape, it's time to talk about highlighting and contouring. You may have followed a highlight and contour tutorial online. The Kardashians made it quite popular in 2016, but the thing is that a lot of these contouring tutorials are also designed to create an oval, and not every character has an oval face shape. In fact, many don't. So let's talk about the purpose of highlighting versus contouring so you can decide what's best for your character. Also, today's video is just a general guideline for contouring. I will be making separate contouring demos later on. First of all, with highlighting is done with a lighter color and it's meant to illuminate and bring features forward. Contouring is a darker color, it mimics a shadow, and it sculpts features. When you do both together, it creates dimension and it can be used to enhance features or create new ones. Now, contour placement is not a one-size-fits-all. A lot of these contouring tutorials online are going to try to create the illusion of, you guessed it, an oval. So if your character has a round face shape and you're contouring your cheekbones, you're not doing that character any favors. If we go back in the presentation to the part where I talk about the proportions of the different face shapes, you can use that as a guideline for where to put your highlight and where to put your contour. If a certain face shape you're going for has slimmer properties where you don't have it, contour it. If it has wider properties where you don't have it, highlight it. Now, besides highlighting and contouring, you can utilize your blush placements to also change your face shape. Now, the placement of your blush is typically determined by what your character does. For instance, if your character's out in the sun a lot, you might create sort of a sun-kissed blush where it's gonna go over the nose too. Standard blush application is usually right here on the apples of the cheeks, but then there's this trend from the 70s that Cher popularized called draping, where the blush is brought all the way up the cheekbone, sort of where modern day highlights are placed. And oh my god, it just creates such a snatched appearance. So these are all things you can play around with on top of your contouring that are going to really help create different illusions in your face shape. And the blush thing isn't just true for female characters, okay? Men blush too. Men are out in the sun too. Men have rosacea too. Men are not exempt from having color in their faces. When you have just flat foundation on your face, it doesn't photograph very well. Adding a little teeny bit of blush can add a lot of life back into your face. So if you've been struggling with your male cosplay makeup, try adding a teeny bit of blush. It does help. I wear blush with literally all of my male cosplays. It doesn't have to be a lot, but it does go a long way. Now, this next part, there's gonna be a separate video going more in depth about this, but your eyeshadow and the placement of it are also forms of contouring, even when it's a bright, fun color like mine is today. Eye shapes can be narrow or wide, and if you want to change that, there's a very easy way to do it. If you want your eyes to appear more narrow, put the darker color on the inner corners. Whereas if you want your eyes to be wider, place the darker color on the outer corners. So once again, just to recap what we discussed today, the way to determine your face shape is to pull your hair back, take a picture in good lighting straight on, and look at the proportions. And it is okay if you share characteristics of more than one face shape. Most people do. Once you've determined your face shape, you can start playing around with the highlight and the contour placement. Highlighting brings features forward and illuminates them, whereas contouring brings features back and sculpts them. Doing them together can create a lot more dimension in your face. But then don't sleep on blush placement, because blush placement can also aid in your contouring / highlighting game. And also, when it comes to your eyeshadow, that is also contouring. If you want your eyes to be narrower, place the darker colors on the inner corner, and if you want them to be wider, place your darker colors on the outer corner. In the next video, I do plan to discuss more about changing the eye shapes. As for the contouring, as much as I would have loved to have done a demo today, that's so specific to the character, and it's too much to cover in one video. That being said, Cosplay Cosmetology is going to have a series within it called Character Study. In Character Study, these are going to be more specific makeup tutorials for specific characters. We're going to look at their face shapes, their eye shapes, where we would place their contour and their highlights based on our face shapes, and how to customize it for yourself. So if you're excited for Character Study, which I know I am, please do make sure to subscribe. And if you want to see more episodes of Cosplay and Cosmetology, also make sure to subscribe. And also make sure to follow me on Instagram, because Cosplay and Cosmetology is generally a convention panel, and I will be posting when I'm at conventions. So make sure to follow me and stay tuned for convention announcements. That's all for now. Thank you for watching Cosplay and Cosmetology, and I'll see you next time. Bye!